Hey, we are just coming off of our presentation at the Naturally Inspired Health Summit, and the feedback has been tremendous, so I wanted to get this out right away. This event at Naturally Inspired Health Summit is quickly becoming the go-to event for this area and the region at large. I want to give you a quick heads up as we dive into this video. We're going to show you our whole presentation. You're not going to be able to see the slides in the background very well, but don't worry. There's going to be a link down below in the description or in the comments, depending on what platform this is on. So go and sign up for all that information. Watch the video while you go through the slides, and you're going to be blown away by all this information. Another quick thing, so as we got near the end, we got a little rushed, so we didn't want to go over time. And there's a slide where it shows all these bottles of supplements. And that's just an example of one line of products that has the activated charcoal in all of those individual products. We're not saying that's the entire protocol and that's all the things you have to take. We had tremendous response from the crowd about this whole presentation. People coming up to us afterwards with tears in their eyes. One couple came up to me and she's choking back tears, and she said, "This was perfect. I needed to be here today for some reason, and what you said, you were talking about me the entire time. Everything that I've been through, all of the health challenges that I've had, you were nailing it, and I can't wait to work with you and figure this out because it's time. I'm tired of this." Another lady came up to Dr. Lauren, kind of the same story, and she said, the gist of it was, "Are you telling me that 30 years of medical mishaps and treatments and incorrect medications and $100,000 worth of procedures and drugs that didn't work for me, that made me sicker, that they were completely useless, and I could have been helping myself by doing a parasite detox?" So Dr. Lauren, she said, "I'm going to take your hand and tell you this, but the answer is yes. It's possible that your problems could have just been because of parasites." So as you watch this, we're talking about toxins in general, but how they're so prevalent in our environment, and they're basically impossible to get away from. And I want you to have these thoughts in your head as you're watching this. Do you have more awareness now that you've seen this about the prevalence of the load of toxins that are in our environment that are affecting you on a constant basis? If you have more awareness, then you also need to ask yourself, am I aware of the need to address this issue properly? Not just a one-time shot, not just a 1-week cleanse that you can say, "Oh, I did it and I'm good," but on an ongoing basis, because these toxins and this onslaught is happening constantly. So if you are more aware of how bad it is and more aware of your need to handle it, we're here for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our presentation from Inside Health at the Naturally Inspired Health Summit. I think you're going to love it.
And Dr. Lauren Kowalski. Thank you guys, Tammy and Jason. Thank you for this amazing event. To say that we are honored to be on this stage is a huge understatement. So we're just so blessed to be here with you in this time. Like Tammy was saying, we're Drs. David and Lauren Kowalski. Inside Health is our third baby. We have 2 kids. And our business is our third, and we love what we do because it was personal. Our entire endeavor has been personal, and what I mean by that is if I go back about 20 years, the reason we do what we do is because I was the product of the average American medical health system. I had train wreck level health by the time I was 18. We call that in our clinic medical wreckage. What does that mean? It means that after being systematically poisoned by the food, the air, the water, the medications in this country, then a lot of us get going on a medical protocol that might involve surgery and drugs, and we are worse because of our medical treatment. Raise your hand if you or one of your loved ones has an experience like that. Medical wreckage, okay? And so it was personal. We had to find solutions for my health. And by doing that, we did. And we are so blessed to use that unfortunate experience to be able to help our community. We've been in practice for 14 years, And after last year, we decided to go 100% virtual. Why? Because we have people from all over the country begging for help. And we have the ability to help people no matter if they're in person or virtual. And so here today, we have a couple of hopes for what we can do for you here today. We want to shed light on the problems. And we also want to, more importantly, provide solutions. Because we hope at the end of our presentation here today, you have things that you can take home for yourself and your family and immediately implement it for better health. So we're going to let Dr. David, the science nerd, go into some in-depth stuff about the problems in our food, air, water, and environments.
Right, so toxins, chemicals, all throughout our environment, food, air, and water, like Dr. Lauren is saying, they're everywhere, and we have to be aware of them. We have to take care of them correctly. So let's get an idea of what we're really talking about. Next. According to the EPA, there are over 86,000 different chemicals, known chemicals, in the environment, man-made, and so on. And not all of them are good for you. Surprise, right? Now, yes, thank you. So you can test how many of these are in your environment. One of the most comprehensive tests you can get for your water, for instance, is this mytapscore.com. You can send this out. It tests for how many? 355 different things in your water. So it's only missing 99.6% of the known chemicals that could be there. Is that doing a good job? Do you want to know what else is in there and what else is affecting your health in negative ways? Yes. Next. So we're going to fly through these slides. There's a lot of resources, a lot of information, things you may want to keep for yourself. I'll save you time. Don't worry about taking photos because that QR code, which you can get here or at our booth, we're going to send you all the slides for this whole presentation. We're going to have the video of this presentation. We have all kinds of other goodies, a lot of free resources coming your way. So we'll talk more about all those offerings here in a bit. So the EPA, the World Health Organization, we all love them, right? They put out this document back in 2012 talking about how they know it's a known issue. They're not disagreeing that there are pharmaceuticals in our tap water. Trace pharmaceuticals because people throw it down the toilet. They don't dispose of it properly. And the U.S. Geological Survey found 139 streams across 30 states that have pharmaceutical traces in them. They're everywhere, guys. That's only where they looked. They couldn't stop finding it. Next. So what about all the other things? There's so many chemicals, heavy metals, things in our environment that are stealing our nutrition. We call them anti-nutrients for good reason, because they are going into your body and essentially filling the parking space for the real nutrition that should be going in there. Does that make sense? So your calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, all the things that help you to create your energy, build your proteins, they have all these binding sites on these cells, but a lot of other chemicals and heavy metals have a strong affinity for those same parking spaces. And so things like arsenic can go in and block your production of ATP, that's your energy production. So basically, you die because of lack of energy with arsenic poisoning. Next. And lead, cadmium, other heavy metals, these things interfere with calcium. So you deplete your bones, you lead to bone loss and osteopenia, osteoporosis, all those things. But also lead toxicity blocks nerve conduction. So we all know about the threat of lead in our brains and how it's dumbing down kids. That's why they got rid of lead paint and leaded gas, because they saw the IQs falling in our population. They had to get rid of that. Next. What about mercury? Mercury has a high affinity for thiols. These are sulfated thiol groups, things like glutathione, your body's main antioxidant. And so thiols prevent oxidative stress. When you're blocking that action with mercury in your environment, you're now more at risk of oxidative stress, and that degrades you even faster. So next, what about aluminum? Aluminum binds to amino acids, prevents your body from creating proteins. Crazy, right? It's not just clogging up your brain and causing Alzheimer's, it's also blocking your ability to create proteins and tissues. Go ahead. Okay, so it would be all well and good if these things were just in your food, air, and water, and we could, they were there for natural reasons, and we could naturally take them out. But what about the things that are being sprayed onto us and injected into us, or exposed to us without our consent, without our knowledge? This is just one quick example from our American history of a time where the military, during the Cold War, wanted to know how a biological warfare attack would spread across America. So what did they do? They went to these various cities and they sprayed the population without consent with zinc cadmium sulfate. There's people in St. Louis who still talk about this as if it's a current issue, like there's still lasting effects from this. So again, that's just one example of many experiments that have been put onto us without our knowledge, without our consent. So what's happening right now? We don't even know. Hopefully we'll find out soon. Go ahead. So again, what's being sprayed? Who here has noticed the persistent haze in the sky? Yeah, the lingering haze that never seems to go away. We know they're spraying something. They're admitting to it now in pieces. But these are just some examples. So again, just a handful of the examples of the actual patents that are out there in the US Patent Registry for various things like charged particle cloud seeding, controlling weather, controlling cyclone formation, dispersing anti-atmospheric fogs, injecting silver iodide clouds into the air, methods for weather modification, travel of hurricanes. Like guys, they're trying everything. You don't think you're a guinea pig? You don't know what they're spraying in the skies? Like, it's happening. So next. So regardless what you think about the issue, yeah, those are contrails. It's just jet exhaust. Well, do we know? We know that there are spraying things now. They're admitting to it. But we don't know what they're spraying. Next. What else is in the sky? They are finding plastics in the highest mountains in the most remote areas of the world now. That's how crazy this is getting. The natural distillation process of our planet, making clouds and making rain, is not filtering this out properly. They are everywhere. And plastics are endocrine disrupting, they're hormone disrupting. They're getting into our environment, even if it's not physically, but with their homeopathic resonance. They're everywhere. Next. In fact, you are eating about a credit card's worth of plastic every day. Right? Every week, sorry. So, I want to do you a favor and protect you from your own self. So everybody take out a credit card and pass it up to me. I'll take care of them. You can trust me. All right, you're good. That was a test. Most of you passed. All right, next. Glyphosate. Let's talk about our agrochemicals. Glyphosate is the most commonly used chemical in all of agriculture all across the world. But what's it doing? How does it work? How does it work in the plants? Well, it blocks the shikimate pathway. You can read all about that. What effectively that's doing is, again, is decreasing protein synthesis, and it's also causing in humans abnormal cell growth and abnormal nerve growth, inflammation, oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and causing direct cell death. This is not good. And this research even noted, and read that carefully, the doses of glyphosate that produce these neurotoxic effects vary widely, but they are lower than the limits that are set by the regulatory agencies. What the EPA says is safe is still causing these effects. That's crazy, guys. We gotta be aware of this. We gotta take care of it. Next. Glyphosate is showing up everywhere. This fertility clinic in France, they tested the semen of these men and found that 55% of them had high levels of glyphosate in their sperm. And what's more interesting is that they tested their blood as comparison to the level in their sperm was 4 times higher than what they found in their blood. It condenses it. It's higher rate in their semen, and so we can't just go by a blood test anymore. You know, what is this doing to our reproductive efforts? How are our kids turning out when this is their start? When they're already facing this chemical onslaught as a sperm and an egg? It's not good. When we know what it does to a human, a full-grown human, what's it doing to them as they're just getting started? Next. And speaking of our food, what feeds our food? Our livestock are being fed completely unnatural diets. If you drive by a feedlot, those cows would much rather be on a grassy field than standing in those mud pits. Would you agree? That's not where they belong, but it's industry, it's efficiency, it's cost effective, it's what they have to do, but it's not right. So these cows are being fed all kinds of things like processed oils and canola, GMO, soy, and corn, all these things that they would not eat in the normal wild, but farmers give them to them along with all the antibiotics, hormones, and steroids because it improves feed efficiency. What that basically equates to is they can give them 25% less food and still get them just as fat. How does that make sense? Who here has thought about going on a diet and eating 25% less food but you just can't lose the weight? You're just like these cows. In fact, America is a giant feedlot. We are super good at putting on weight. We are, because we eat the same stuff. All the processed oils, processed grains, this is our diet. This is the standard American diet. And it is sad. So next. And all these toxins going into our bodies, where do they end up? They don't just excrete. Your body does a good job of trying to process them correctly, our liver, our bowels, but it can't handle all of them. So it nicely walls them off in a little pod of fat. And that's all well and good while it's there, but guess what? If you try to lose the fat, all those toxins come right back out. We need to deal with those. So how do we deal with them? Go ahead. Last thing. With all this going on, with all the inflammation, all the toxicities, it's no wonder why we're sick, why we're tired, why we're depressed, and why 1/3 of Americans are constantly walking around in pain. That's sad. If that's you, I'm sorry. But it's not the way it's supposed to be. Next.
Okay, you get to look at this, Joy. So this is what my body used to do. Very reactive, very inflammatory. At this point, I had lost about 60 pounds of weight. So, like Dr. David just said, we found a lot of, what we do in our clinic is help people release the toxins so that their body can lose the fat. And yet, what happens when you see a body doing what my body was doing right there? The lymphatics are still full of poison, of toxin, okay? We call me the canary in the coal mine. If I walk into a room and there's mold in there, I'm gonna be the one who freaks out. And then he's like, pack your stuff, we're leaving. She's freaking out like there's something wrong. Like, because my body can detect it. It has always been that sensitive. Now, how old was I here? 30? I think this was around 10 years ago. I was well into my healing journey, and yet I still had a lot of work to do. We're at Disney World. The unhealthiest place on the planet. Like, I'd eaten and breathed and drank terrible things for days, and I literally ended up in a wheelchair. My knees and my ankles were double the size that day. But my health journey started 10 years before that, where I was so sick I was suicidal. And yet, here, when your toxin bucket is full, you guys, and you get exposed to more toxins, it just bubbles over. There's nowhere for it to go. And that's how Americans typically are walking around. What do I mean when I say your toxin bucket is full? If you are symptomatic, oh, I have headaches all the time, oh, I don't poop ever, or I always poop and I need to go to the bathroom 45 times a day, whatever it is, that is your body telling you that its toxin bucket is full. That's what mine looked like. That's what my toxicity level looked like. Next, please. And so we look at different levels of healing. You know, there's traditional medicine, take another drug. Functional medicine, take some vitamins to enhance normal function. We are foundational. That's how we consider ourselves. Assess the environment and address the toxins. You can't out-nutrient a toxicity. Also, the new multivitamin of today, you guys, is a binder. You have to bind hold of poison to remove it so that you can even have enough perking spots, like Dr. David said earlier, to have places for your nutrition to go. Your body doesn't care about taking handfuls of vitamin D, vitamin B, vitamin C. If you're so toxic, you can't even absorb it. Does that make sense? Yes? Yeah. The new multivitamin is a binder. Okay? We live in a cesspool, a poop storm of chemicals in this country. Okay?
So the analogy of that parking spot is also the same in this picture. Who feels that little boy, like, oh, you're so lonely, I want to just help you out? That's our nutrition. That's our calcium, that's our magnesium, phosphorus. That's going into our bodies trying to find a date. But all the other girls are taken by all the bullies and the jocks and whoever else is in there, and they ain't giving them up.
Previous trauma coming through.
That was real cool. But that's the thing here. You could send in 100 more of those young boys, and they're still not going to find a date because you got to get rid of the toxins. You got to get rid of the guys who shouldn't be there in the first place, so that you can open that up and let them find themselves. So next. So, quick example of what we're talking about. If you've done a radon test, you put this little packet in your basement and you leave it there a couple days, you send it back in, well, what's in there? It's activated charcoal. It absorbs toxins from just the air. And we need the same thing in our bodies. It works perfectly just as well. Next. So this is, so some of the research benefits from bioactive carbon, the activated charcoal that we love and use. Things like research for putting toxins like pesticides and herbicides, anti-cancer benefits. Again, I'll send you these links. You can read all about it. Neutralizes viruses. You heard me. Viruses like H5N1. Who's scared to death of avian flu? Don't be. Right here, this helps neutralize avian flu. I'll say it again so the FDA hears me. This has been shown to neutralize viruses and other bioterrorism agents. So, cool. Next.
Okay, you guys, so here's one of this is our arsenal. Like, we love these products. We can't detox and heal people without them. Back when I was at my worst, I didn't have these products, so it took longer. It's amazing. People heal quite quick under our care. Next. Okay, this is the stuff we don't even have time to talk with you about. Yeah, we don't, like, look at this. Okay, that is legit a parasite. Come to our booth. If you want to see what dead parasites coming out of people's butt looks like, we got that at our booth, okay? If you are sick, if you have a pulse, you got a parasite. I'm telling you, if you've got a pulse, you've got a parasite.
So also, this is, again, just a list that we couldn't get to, the things that we also take care of, but we're not just a chemical detox company, but these are the things that we all need to be aware of.
Parasites are sponges for toxins.
Out there in the booths are tons of vendors, tons of services. And guess what? The secret is they all work. I don't care what you do, but do something. Learn something today. Grab information.
Connect with people.
Next. So this is an example of a parasite. Just like the sperm was condensing all the glyphosate in the bodies, they found that these parasites in these, in this research was carrying tons more lead and cadmium than the host. So again, is that helping? What happens when you kill off the parasite? Where does all those hypnols go? So we have to bind those and safely excrete them. Otherwise, we're going to have a detox reaction where somebody's like, oh, I did a parasite cleanse and I felt so much worse. Well, because we didn't address what the parasites were holding.
Right. Next. So we have detox protocols. That's great. Better. We are launching a group coaching protocol. We have in this QR code your ability to schedule a free onboarding call. So check that out on the QR code. One-on-one is where we thrive. We love to individually help someone with their personal concerns and assess what's going on, if it's parasitic or chemical or metal or whatever. And so we just want to be a source of information, and it doesn't matter where you live. We are 100% virtual, and we just hope that in the packet that you get from this QR code today, you take home a little nugget or 2 or 3 or 10. There's a lot in there that you can implement immediately for your own household and your children, your families, and our community.
Right, next. So guys, lastly, here's the link that you can go to for all the goodies. We're going to have these slides. We're going to have access to our free course, Busy Mom Health Revival. That's a $100 value. We've got the Empowering Health course coming up soon. We're going to have the best pricing on this first class. So if you're interested, this is not the one you want to miss. And we're also going to hook you up with our newsletter and all these other resources. So we appreciate you. Please stop by our booth, and we're here for any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy and Jason. Thank you so much, Drs. Kalowski.